Hey, everybody. Oh, as I drop my microphone, what a way to start an episode. Hey, everybody, I'm Nico, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Nico Action. That's NicoAction.
And I'm TK. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at xNateXGrayX.
And I'm Jonah. You can follow me over on Twitter and Instagram at PeakJonah. That's Peak. And we hope you survive this experience.
And that, of course, makes this X is for podcast. And we're doing something pretty exciting that we've never had the opportunity to do before. So, X is for show. We've, made this big jump over to our new live format. So excited. And this is the first time that since our live format has been up and running the way it should be, that we have had the opportunity to talk about Marvel previews every single month. Marvel drops an amazing collection of everything that's coming out 3 months from now. And that's what we're here to take a look at. It's really exciting to know what's on the horizon in a lot of ways.
And if you don't know, you can always pick up a free issue of Marvel previews from your local comic book store. They're there on the last Wednesday of the month, along with whatever else is shipping. It's a great little thing to just grab and kind of be able to look forward to the future. It's very funny what gets announced in a Marvel previews versus what gets announced the same day, not in Marvel previews. And it's funny. It's just a good way to be kind of aware of everything that's coming. And this one was just particularly amusing because we got those big announcements about Ultimate Invasion and Chaos Reigns, Chaos something.
Contest of Chaos.
Contest of Chaos. Yeah, sure. So those probably are not coming in May, which is the previews that we're looking at. But just funny to get that news the same day I'm looking at all the stuff that I think, oh, this is coming right up.
Now, Jonah, you haven't picked up a previews before, so this is sort of like your preview into previews.
I'm previewing my preview debut, and I could not be more excited. I always find it interesting to look at the solicits and like, ooh, what's coming up? What do we have to look forward to as comic fans and comic readers? And it's really nice when there's at least an idea of you should generally expect this to come out. I know that sometimes with a lot of shipping delays, a lot of different things, so many gears in motion, not everything might make it out when they say it might, but at least we know certain things will be coming out. And that's nice to know.
And, I think the thing that always matters to me is I'm always really curious about how, in any given instance, what they're choosing to give away and what they're choosing to not give away. Something that people might not realize is the actual comic book making process is still kind of mysterious. And there's ways that like everybody making their own comic is kind of making it their own way. You hear all the time about like, oh, every movie set is the same. It's a process, but you also hear every movie is a completely different experience to make. Oh my God. And so with comics, it's kind of the same thing. They submit what the story is going to be, and then they start the story and they start producing it. And then, they make the cover based on that. But over the course of 3 months, stuff changes. The evolution of an idea, the evolution of 6 people working on an idea, 8 people working on an idea, you get transformation. And that transformation is so evident on the cover. Joey Q said, just a few years into his deluxe edition tenure here at Marvel, that, covers were to no longer be spoilerific. He said the book should not reflect what's inside it by the cover, which is just absolutely, and it's like I don't know.
He clearly meant don't ruin a moment, but we've really gone into don't let anything that is on the cover happen in the book.
We have paperbagged the cover.
We've gone to, you could have characters that aren't in this book on this cover to try to sell it.
Yeah, it's gone full round the bend. And like, I also love that now we're just like leaning into that. We're like, oh, it's a line of variants, you guys. And it's like the all Spider-Man variant. So we're just going to take literally John Romita Sr. pages from 1971. And we're just going to make them the covers of X-Men comics this month.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm buying it, so
yeah, of
like,
course. It's very fun. We got to catch them all.
Yeah,
cat variants, right? We've got cat variants. We've got ape variants.
Yeah, Planet of the Apes. Yeah,
we're actually going to see a variant cover in this previews issue that I'm really excited for you to see, Nico. It's something we've talked about a couple of times, but this is one I'm excited about. The other thing I really love about Marvel previews is it says very clearly, it gives you some text. So it says very clearly who the creators are. And I think a lot of times in our digital, Twitter-based, image-based world, a lot of times we see a cover and that's the only image we get. So we just know, oh, there's a new Avengers coming out. We don't necessarily see who the creative credits are. And oftentimes, the people that really get cut out of that are the artist, the colorist, the letterer. We usually go by writer. If anybody's on there, it's Hickman, it's Jed McKay, it's who's the big seller. But what I love about previews is that we get the full credits, and I get some time to stop and really take in, like, oh, this thing is happening. Like, these people are collaborating. This is the group that's going to put together this particular issue. And, I like that.
But then, but what do you do when you're reading, will Emma Frost be beheaded by this ugly, weird man? And then, that's the arc. That's what's running through, I don't know, Jerry Duggan's Diamond X People. It's a very exciting book. And, then, you see that the cover of Diamond X People #7 is Emma Frost, having recently survived being beheaded, is now the Beheadstrix. And you're like, all right, now I understand that that's how we live, but at the same time, I am kind of I wouldn't mind living a little. Okay, so it's when you know the ending, it makes it really hard to engage meaningfully. And that's, for me, occasionally the drama. I don't know about you guys.
On the one hand, yes, of course. I used to be a kid that skipped to the end of the book and read the last page, the last chapter. And then I really did stop doing that. I really wanted to despoil myself. And now it's gotten to the point where, I like to see the first trailer, maybe the teaser of something, and then nothing else. I don't want to see a single other scene because I don't really trust people these days not to spoil things for me. And so, I in a lot of ways, I do like to go in as blind as possible. And that is something that I like about, previews, is I think it does a pretty good job of keeping you out of most stuff. I feel like 2 months is a good time frame wherein, generally or 3 months, I kind of know what's coming up that far ahead. But they don't get too far into detail.
I understand that some people like the destination more than the journey. Oh, no, let me rephrase that. They like the journey more than the destination. They don't care how we end up there, but they're more fascinated and interested in how we get there. And I never want to take away from that group, but I personally am of the mindset I want to go into things as blind as possible, but not so as blind as TK. Like, if there's an official source on something, there's official, trailer or something, I watch it all and I get excited for what they do show. But for the most part, I like to experience things as, blindly as possible because I want to form my own opinions. I want to know what's going on based off my own perception at my own pace, but also form my own reactions as it's happening, because I would never want to. I think it's part of the joy of anything, whether it's comics, whether it's video games, whether it's movies, whether it's whatever media you love to consume, that you only really get that surprise once, and you only get those emotions once. And I think having it happen naturally, seeing everything unfold, is probably, for my opinion, the best way to go about it.
And there's so much to be said for I think back on the storylines I grew up with. I think about the things that I had in trades, and I remember people being like, "Oh, well, I mean, Executioner's Song is just okay, and I don't know about this Fatal Attractions book, and Onslaught's weird." And now that I'm older and I have stories like that I kind of grew up with, when I started this handsome gentleman right below us on X-Men, I was like, by the way, new X-Men, it's time to evolve or die. And, Jonah was like, okay, new X-Men. So my Dark Phoenix list, if I was like, you got to read this, it would include more modern things as well. And I think that's kind of the magic of them coming out as you're reading them, being a part of it, being, being live for the experience of seeing a classic occur, of how it touches you, of how it affects you. It's that sort of understanding of like kind of like pitch and yaw of previews versus reading live versus getting trades versus hearing about it and picking it up 3 years after the fact, that I think makes something like looking at a Marvel previews like a worthwhile investment of our time.
Well, I
Could
think
you
we
imagine
have
if
said a lot about. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jonah.
I was just gonna say to your point, could you imagine if the twist of Grant Morrison's new X-Men was just on the covers? And the entirety of the twist was just spoiled for everybody who just looked at covers.
I would be thrilled to death forever if they were like, we're going to go back and we're going to reprint new X-Men and we're going to stick Magneto holding a Zorn helmet on the cover. Like some Shakespeare looking at a skull Hamlet shit. Like, that's what I'm looking for.
Don't talk about York like that.
Oh, we hardly knew him.
And there have been a couple covers projects that have sort of hinted at telling a story in covers. And I'm waiting for that moment, especially like where the story the covers are telling is completely disconnected from what's inside the comic book pages, but it's a cool story. It's just a bunch of variant covers and,
Well, and so that kind of reminds me of Vertigo, and it's like two different Vertigo ideas, right? But Vertigo did a month where they were like, you guys are all saying that there's not enough content in the books. Don't worry. We're going to freaking eat that cover and make the cover part of the story. And then separately, during Fables, when you might have read any of the Fables stuff, I highly recommend anything by, Lila Sturges. That's worth reading. And, there was a character, Babe the Blue Ox, who had these very psychological, very esoteric non sequiturs about reality. And it would be sort of like if one of those was just the cover of an unrelated comic. And I really get that drive for some interesting storytelling using the covers. It's space, man. Use it. Plaster something interesting on there.
Yeah, we've already gone full tilt into like the covers are just whatever they're going to be. They're a bunch of cool stuff. So, now let's play around with what cool stuff we're doing.
And, it's like really interesting because like one of the things I love the most is when we're on this show and we're talking and like, host Nathan, one of the things I love is that when he brings up his books, he's like, and this is the cover I got, because for him, part of the excitement so deeply is thinking about which one you're going to purchase. Mm-hmm. And like, I love that. Like, I'm a little bit more a digital guy myself, but I really, really love that for so many people, these covers are such a part of this process.
And I will say that is the one, to me, really big downside about digital, with the exception of the fact that like you choose not to physically collect at that point, that you're doing that, that's fine. I would, and Nico, you and I were talking about this the other day. I would pay an extra $1 for a variant option. Like to be able to get a version of the digital that had all the variant covers, or I would get an alternate variant digital cover. I don't know. I would love some access to the collection of art because it's so gorgeous. If I could own even just digitally every Peach Momoko cover, like that would those would be my NFTs. If I could buy that art, I would do it, and I would be a shameless douche about it.
No effing to choice. That's what NFT stands for in this instance. No effing to choice.
To choice.
It's like T'Challa, but terrible.
I was going to say, is that a different Black Panther we haven't met yet? The choice?
Oh my God. Well, if Eve Ewing has anything to say about anything, I'm here for it. Any Black Panther thing she wants to say for the rest of the time, she's got it.
That was another great piece of news we got just before this, that Eve Ewing will be doing Black Panther, which after this run of Monica Rambeau Photon, so exciting. But let's crack into it, shall we?
That was me cracking the book open with some telekinesis.
You are very skilled with your powers, and that impresses me so much. And,
you're doing it, man.
Right here, right in the cover, that we knew this was coming, but this was, and I even knew when it was coming because, we know when Avengers is ending, but there it is. We're starting. Avengers comes in May.
I am happy because number one, Stuart Immonen, you draw the sound of my brain. So I'm so grateful for what you do. Number two, our whole team has been long fans of Jed McKay. We love a lot of this team. We have our very own Midnight Mission crew who, stand like the Jed McKay oeuvre, right? And I just find myself a little disappointed that it's 2 women on this initial cover. It could wind up being 11, and I don't know. But we do have some opportunity to introduce some non-binary characters, and this is it is a predominantly white team. We're not even sure if Wanda's a mutant, let alone how far they're willing to toe into Romani culture. And I am thrilled to see Black Panther back on the team. I am thrilled to see Sam in that costume. It's where he belongs. He looks so great. But I am kind of like, where's the diversity? I am kind of like, where is the pride in the heritage of Marvel characters?
And see, I find there's nothing specifically wrong with this team in my mind, but it's very pageant. It's very safe. I don't know if this Avengers team is pushing the boundaries of Avengers. And that's fine, not every team has to, but it would have been nice for maybe like one oddball pick. Something like I've enjoyed the way Jed McKay writes Tigra. So, seeing Tigra here would have been a great choice as something that's a little bit outside the box, because with pretty 7 characters, I think you can have one character that's a little bit out there, a little bit less known, and bring them to the forefront a little bit with the help of the characters that are a little bit more safe in the Avengers title.
Yeah, because this is straight bangers. This is like, there's absolutely nothing up here where anybody's like, I don't know her. Who is she? This is just like top to bottom badasses.
And this is an interesting one for MCU synergy.
The MC unification theory is so tricky because hold on, here's the bingo bango bongo, the oingo boingo of it, if you will. The Danny Elfman before he wrote the soundtrack of my entire life, when he was just writing the occasional spot on the playlist. This is in fact a dead man's party, actually, because as much as I'm sure she's going to show back up, how much further is Wanda going to go? We've tragically lost Chadwick Boseman, who is a grieving loss I will never get past in terms of like the cultural cinematic scape of the Marvel Universe, and as a man who contributed so much to the world. And we have moved forward with the Black Panther lore in live action material, but this is probably T'Challa. And Paul Bettany, you can bet on me, but I'm betting that you're pushing 60 soon.
It's close.
And
he's also, if he comes back, he's White Vision. Like,
speaking of White Vision, we have our Black Captain America here, which is far better than a White Vision. But I wonder about Thor. I wonder about Iron Man. It's just like, is this MC unification, or is this best up?
I think it could specifically not be, because we maybe do a little too much of it. Because Jed McKay's run, or because Jason Aaron's run was so invested in showing MCU people the Avengers Assemble, which we just talked about last week, and we will be talking about more. Please come and join us on that. But it really is, the thing that it does that I just have so much respect for him is it tells an amazing Marvel comic story for Marvel Cinematic Universe newcomers. And it's a big job, and there's a lot to it, and there's kind of weird places where the synergy happens, and you can really see it. They are not being subtle. That's totally okay. They're doing a strategy. The strategy here might be a team that you can't possibly say is us trying to synergize, because half of them are dead or not coming back, and, maybe that's a little break and a little bit of fun we get to have, because we've got a hot minute before we do Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. So they've really got some time to let a story ride that doesn't have anything to do with the MCU.
We might actually have a hotter minute than we even think, because they're like, hey, real quick, guys, you might need to move back some movies. NBD, it's not a lack of faith. Honestly,
it's also
finds
like,
their lack of faith unnerving. Yeah. It was 18 projects in 2 years. That's gross. I would talk to that friend about that many projects. I would be like, Marvel Cinematic, honey, I'm concerned about you burning out. So, okay, we have to open this thing though, right? Ever?
I know. And we're gonna just look at the cover for the next one, but we'll stop at it when we get to the actual entry. I just think it is so great. It's Groot.
It's Groot. It's
It's
a
Groot.
Marvel. I love it.
Yeah.
This is a great cover. Dan Abnett. That's a name that gets me to buy. Lee Garbett. That's a name that gets me to buy. Damian Cusiero. Not a name I know, but if the art matches the promise of this, I'm in.
Jojo, what do you think?
It's Groot.
Yeah.
I'm Groot.
Yeah.
I think Groot is a great. This is just. I it just looks like it's going to be a good time. I can already kind of tell just the way that Groot is drawn right here on this cover, the facial expression, just kind of everything. It seems like he's going to give us that gremlin energy that I think a lot of people love. And I'm kind of excited to see the Space Gremlin Adventures.
Serving a lot of Groot Toretto right there.
Family.
We'll talk about this one too. And yeah, all of this we're gonna get to. This is the next big thing I really wanted you to see, Nico.
I did not wear this hat knowing that you were doing that.
I know, and I smiled so big when I saw it in the preview.
As like the biggest Disney nerd in this showcase, unless Keva wants to boop into the video real quick. Here's why I did just defend. Like, I could not have known, and like I am just so glad that I didn't have to make an ass of myself just now. I'm so glad I defended whatever you want to make a variant, just make it, because I'm gonna buy this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy this so hard.
Yeah.
I love this. Like, as a kid, my favorite McDonald's toys I ever got were the Looney Tunes that transformed into superheroes. And as we've discussed on this show, my favorite things I ever got to experience were like transformation stories. And, you know, the idea of transforming something I love into something else I love, that's just cool and dynamic. That's just exciting. It's entertaining. It's bold, even if it's redundant. I like it.
I have loved the classic covers that I've seen. To me, that is, it's not that it's obvious in a bad way, but like, of course, like old Fantastic Four covers and old Mickey Mouse, like kind of, they jive really well for me. Like, I can see that. This is like almost kind of a risk and almost kind of a bigger deal to me. Like, this is because this is New Avengers. This is like really where a lot of our modern stuff began. Bendis had a plan. This led to so much of what is now present continuity. And so to attach this to Disney characters, for me, is a different thing. It's a bigger swing, and I love it. I think it's adorable. And, you know, I know that we all sort of hem and haw about the large corporation that is responsible for our comics. But, you know, these characters, these Marvel characters and these Disney characters, we all grew up with them. We all fell in love with them. And there's something really cool about this to me, regardless of anything else.
I'm very much sold on Minnie Mouse's Wolverine, so.
Same. Blind same.
Oh, so that's exciting. I hope we get to see more of these.
Yeah.
And next we just have the Avengers #1 description. A lot of great variants coming up. And, you know, the description just says the star, the icon, the witch, the construct, the god, the engineer, the king.
No, that is not all it says. Stop. It says the word assemble. It says the word assemble, and I know that's like the Avengers catchphrase, but dude, the arc that just ended everything was called Avengers Assemble.
Honestly, that is why I just ignored it.
No,
I was like, I want to do them a favor.
Hold copy responsible. Copy, I see you. I don't think it's a bad thing, but just be like, assemble. We know. Okay?
The world is ever in peril, and a new team of Avengers mobilizes to meet any dangers that dare threaten the planet. But when Terminus attacks, a new and insidious danger rears its head, one that the Avengers know all too well, and one that comes to them in the most dangerous of guises, that of a friend. With the exception of Terminus, the most generic possible. Like, the Avengers are always there to protect the Earth. There's always a friend betraying, which is great. I'm totally fine with that. But yeah, with the Assemble in the mix too, we are very, like, the pot is not stirred. The boat is not rocked.
We're just missing like a really slow, moody Lana Del Rey produced dark cover of Your Body is a Wonderland. And like that would finish this trailer out, and like Vision slowly comes to life as they do Your Body is a Wonderland. Da, 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 da.
Some really interesting variants, though, in the mix. I'm excited for 2 Kyle Wu covers, the Daniel Acuno, the Marco Cicchetto. Just going to be a lot to pick from.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm excited, but I don't know that like I'm going to care until I'm reading it, because Marvel hasn't done a lot to make this seem like a one-of-a-kind run.
No,
Marvel,
they're really lowering expectations.
But I don't think that has to do with the run. I think that has to do with the marketplace. Yeah.
And of course we get some nice art for it. Again, this is very generic. If this sold you versus like the idea itself didn't sell you, I want to talk to you. I want to know what in these 4 very small previews made you think like, yeah, I want to do it.
Carol. Look at that Carol. Carol looks great by herself. Let's just be a Carol book.
I love a Carol book. There's one happening right now.
And I think there is something to be said for just vote of good confidence. Look that it's pretty inside.
Yeah. Yeah. Some classic stuff in the mix, of course.
I'm pretty stressed out by these facsimile editions at this point. Just a few too many of them. And they are literally, what if we didn't commit to doing all of X-Men Classic?
Well, they'll print anything again to make a buck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It's printing reruns. I can't come at them. It's.
This is not going to be part of our coverage, but just to remind everybody, Planet of the Apes is in the mix.
I love every one of these cover artists. Josh Cassara, Raphael Albuquerque, E.M. Geist, and Rob Race. This is just like a yes please of covers, but I don't care.
Yeah, they're doing some cool variants for Marvel stuff, but it is all just to promote. Planet of the Apes will not so far be crossing over with 616, so they're just weird variant covers. But this would be a good place to do the story. Do the story in the variant covers of how Planet of the Apes crosses over to...
If this is how Planet of the Apes, Predator, and Alien all wind up in Kang War, I'm in.
Sold.
100%. And then Mickey shows up as Captain America, and it is variant on.
Can I make a reference to something that it just hit me what you guys were talking about how telling covers, telling a completely different story. Yeah. A different franchise actually does that a lot through their card art. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is kind of famous for having these characters within its own world go through stories through various different cards that, like, when you put all of the art together, you piece the stories together. And I was like, oh, yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! Does that. Marvel could do that. That's fine.
Yeah, I would so love it. Nico.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Another Edge of Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Okay. We're just going to keep doing this. But here's what I'm going to say. Looking at this creative team.
Yeah.
Carla Pacheco and Xander Cannon as the writers. If we're doing 2 stories, it looks like we might be doing a Spider Soar, and it looks like maybe just like a generic team up. But like, I could get into it. But The other edge of the Spider-Verse. Okay.
It's Spider Rex versus Venomsaurus, as well as the scariest spider we've ever met.
So they say. Who is the spider killer? They're asking, and I'll shift over to because this
Raid
announced
spray.
both 1 and 2, which I'm fascinated if they are both coming out in May and why. Because it's out of 4, so are we just trying to do 2 and 2 and get this out? But Nico and I have said quite a lot about Spider-Verse. Jonah, you have said less. Where's your head at?
I will give an answer, and I don't know if either of you will be happy about my answer. I am not. I will not rest until there is a version of every animal, every person, every being, every inanimate object as a spider. And there will be one story as everything will be a spider. Just keep giving spiders. I find it hysterical.
We're here for it too. It just has to matter.
Yeah. We would love if everybody had a really well written spider.
Yes.
I understand that you will take whatever spider they're going to put out there, and I so respect that. But once you start reading them,
I like them in concept and I like them in design. Yeah. I find when people use different spiders as their inspiration, and how do you translate that? Like if Marvel was like, Jonah, create a spider, I would think of how do I translate the peacock spider into a spider. I think that would be something that would be cool. So I like the design aspect of how do you play around with the design of making X into a spider. I don't know, like looking at this, I don't know if Spider Rex is really pushing the spider bounds or the webs of what we can really do with a spider dinosaur, but it doesn't look bad. I mean, you can't go wrong with dinosaurs are just cool as a fact. But I do agree with, there seems to be this consensus of quantity over quality, and I would rather there be less spiders introduced for better stories, for the ones that are a little bit more appealing to the broader comic readers.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Fewer for better. Do it.
Like I said, we got issue 2.
Hey, girl. Oh, it's David Hines back. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it says and more. So maybe this one has a few more stories.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming that first one will have those two as like an A and B story, but I could see it having a smaller C and D. This one, I imagine we are back to form, and the final 3 issues will have, equal 4 or 5 stories, however they choose to do it. It's just so weird that we're doing more of this in May.
I think it might just be crossover season. Maybe they even need a break from Spider-Man or something. Maybe there's going to be a shipping thing. I don't know.
Yeah. Disney Spider, though, I do think it's cool.
I do love her.
As always, we're continuing on with the facial reactions from Nico are really, a highlight of this whole experience.
What do you mean number 7?
I don't know.
What do you mean number 7? Why are there more than 6? What do you mean 7? Is it just going to keep going? Please keep going. I don't ever want it to end, but I was not expecting this.
Yeah.
Yeah, as Kevo, as somebody who has covered every word of Miracle Man, that's Dickie, and that's Dickie and Mickey, and they're I hate that, but it's okay.
Would you prefer Dick and Mick?
I would prefer their names not rhyme. How is there no room for Johnny in all of this?
Fighting them,
Agreed.
not a fan. Yeah, well, conflict.
It can't be all their makeout scene, Kevy.
So yeah, I mean, it is continuing.
I'm here for it.
Exciting to see where that goes. And this is another one I'm super excited about. Emily Kim is back for more Silk. Silk swings into the Spider-Verse, That's all I need to hear. I think it was something that you and I very vocally mentioned when we saw that new Spider-Verse was opening up and we weren't seeing a lot of Silk. Disappointing on so many levels. Not enough women, not enough women of color, Asian representation. I had a huge problem with Silk not being there, but now I'm pretty excited.
And it's a pretty great lineup of what looks like a number of amazing creators of Asian descent, which I love.
Yes.
I could not be happier and more excited. Silk is my favorite spider character. And please correct me if I'm wrong. Silk often doesn't seem to be involved with spider stories. Like I more so feel like I connect her to like Agents of Atlas as opposed to like spider event stuff. But I could be wrong.
It kind of depends on the run.
She is a character who that could be true for at any point. She has been in other stuff, and I think she would fit well completely disconnected from spider stuff. But like, she was a big part of the original Spider-Verse event, and has been. She and Peter have a weird relationship. She has like a full title in like the Spider-Verse prophecies that is kind of stupid, but you know, it means that she always has kind of an opportunity for spotlight. So I'm really excited about this. You know, it's a 5-issue mini. You get worse in this world for a beloved character. I'm excited to see that Emily Kim is publishing immediately after Tiger Division another story. I think she's a fantastic writer, and I really would like to see Asian characters, be highlighted. I'd maybe like to see a cohesive ongoing.
It'd be nice.
Yeah. And we're doing more Spider-Man 2099 by Steve Orlando.
It feels a little shocking because it sometimes feels like writers are so in competition for certain characters. I understand that Peter David is, you know, not in his success prime at this point, but it does feel like I really recently remember Peter David being the Spider-Man 2099 guy, and now it feels like Steve Orlando. But it just feels like till Steve Orlando has too many other projects, maybe? I don't know. This just feels like I don't know how long this can possibly be his actual focus.
Jonah, did you read the first Spider-Man 2099?
No, I haven't gotten to that yet. I will get to it. Nico will make me read it at some point because Miguel is his favorite spider.
Yeah. I'm excited. I'm glad that they're continuing. I like that, like the last one, it is a 5-issue, low investment, low stakes. But I like that 2099 as a universe is sitting on the back burner. I very much am grateful to Steve Orlando for putting the X-Men into it, because that I love 2099 X-Men, the X-Men 2099, and that gives us an opportunity to kind of move them in and update. We even got one of them in Marauders, although that was a storyline that did not get picked up because we went back in time. But you know, who knows? It could come from here. I'm glad that we're doing this, and I love Steve Orlando. I hope he continues. He's got so many projects, so. You know, if he were not the only person touching 2099 stuff, I would not be unhappy, but I would be very grateful that he put so much work into 2 great minis that sort of got its heat going again. Some good art for this, too. I'm excited. I will say I am maybe not stoked to see Punisher 2099 in that issue 3.
You know, I just think that they're maybe rushing through it a little too fast. You know, whatever the metric that says publish weekly or bi-weekly, sure. But like, I'm not interested now that I see, it's 2, 3, 4, like, okay. Yeah. It's just a little too much for me. I don't want to spend $50 in a month to get a mini series that I'm probably never going to see more from again.
Interesting thought. Yes.
Can I also use this opportunity to critique Punisher 2099's design, because I feel like his design is very busy and I don't really like it at all.
Yeah. It's not great.
No. I almost appreciate that, like, it's so obviously a bad 90s design that they're sticking with, even though they could just update and streamline. So I'll be interested to see if that comes into play at all. Yeah, they are really just going through this, I guess, in May. And we are doing a Carnage event.
But we're also doing Carnage in that last miniseries, and we're also doing Summer of Symbiotes. Like, we're just doing so much Carnage.
Yeah, hang on to that thought. Cool art, though, sure. Yeah, Gold Goblin's in the mix, okay. We've got Miles Morales, Spider-Man, tying into Chaos Reigns. Carnage is obviously part of it. This is all stuff that we are pretty divorced from, so, it is what it is. But here... Now, Nico, we talked about this a little bit, because show favorite Clay McLeod Chapman is contributing to the anthology aspect of this, the fact that there are multiple Venomverse stories. But we're doing Spider-Verse, we're doing Venomverse, it's the Summer of Symbiotes, Carnage, Chaos Reigns. Are things feeling a little busy?
Yeah, this is definitely... I mean, it's a little tough because you keep turning to the next slide and it just keeps being more. And I'm trying to not be negative, but
yeah,
I keep thinking you're done. And I'm, this is too much. This is too much.
Jonah?
It is a lot, especially coming off the tails of it wasn't that recent, but you look at the Null event where everything was nullified, and it's like the King in Black, and that kind of already is a Venom very big thing. So the fact that we're getting another one, I feel like they're trying to get a lot of blood from that stone, and I don't know if it's the move I would make. It is a little much, I love the appeal of symbiotes. I really do. I love the some of the interesting colors and designs that come out of them. But this is just a lot that I feel like because people really like it and it's popular, they're doing it, as opposed to different reasons. There's nothing wrong with that, but I don't know if this is appealing to me personally.
Yeah, and that's really ultimately my question is this appealing to you? And I can absolutely understand why it's not. But of course, this Peach Momoko cover...
okay, Felicia as Venom? Yeah. I am on board with that, though.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, with anthology events like this, it's sort of a bummer that there's always a through line of plot that you need to understand and care about in order for the whole thing to make sense, and that you sort of can't pick and choose and enjoy one story of Felicia Hardy as Venom the way that you could with like a Black, White, and Blood. Like, if you pick up issue 3 of Elektra Black, White, and Blood just because you want that Peach Momoko story, that's fine, and it doesn't, you don't lose anything. But Extreme Venomverse is going to come out of what's happening now in Venom stuff. It will also apply stuff that happened in the original Venomverse, none of which I've read, although I suspect now it's getting added to the, have in your back project pocket list that Nico and I have. But there's Ryan North was on that last issue. We've got Al Ewing on this one, David Pepos, Clay McLeod Chapman. People that we really like are on this. But it's tough to do the big plot for the stories that I might be really interested in. Yeah. My partner in the next room has joined us to ask a very important question. Oh, Lord. I think canonically at this point he is, but we'll set that aside for now. This is one I am particularly excited about. Storm by Ann Nocenti.
Well, I love Ann Nocenti, and I like Sid Kotian. I think I am a little torn because I do love Ann Nocenti, and I am a huge Ann Nocenti fan, and Ann Nocenti should get to write Storm miniseries, and so should younger women of color, and so should male writers of color. Ann Nocenti should not get to, because she's paid her dues. There should be enough Storm material going on that Ann Nocenti writing a Storm miniseries doesn't represent the only person writing a Storm miniseries. And that is kind of a failing on publishing's part. And that might be the market. It might be that it's hard to keep a Storm book going. She might be one of those characters that they say, we will buy it if you put it out there, and they put it out there and no one buys it, and it's just a fact and you can't fight it. But it is tough when it feels like, reasonably speaking, we should have more opportunities for people to be on Storm. I will say, though, Alan Davis, so talented, such an amazing writer, such an amazing artist, also a writer, but such an amazing artist, who maybe then we could have had an artist of color do the covers.
He should have done the variant.
Just something that allowed us to see a little bit more inclusion.
Go ahead, Jonah.
No, please go.
The only thing I was going to say is it feels like in some ways this is trying to address the fact that Ann Nocenti should have written something like this in 1984. And even then we should have had black writers. So there's really no excuse for that aspect of things. But Ann Nocenti is really still having her dues paid and her status bought back, given that she was so important and really, didn't get the recognition that Claremont got for the X-Men. This feels like the chance to kind of have that happen, but it's been so long that, I get the kind of, it's not only too little too late, but also you're still pushing back the responsibility that we have to put people of color on writing this person of color.
Yeah.
Something I just wanted to quickly talk about. I love Artgerm. Artgerm's art makes me so happy, and as an avid Marvel Snap player, seeing their art as variants, it makes me happy. So seeing that they get a cover, quite honestly, just it sparks joy.
Yeah, I mean, it is a gorgeous piece too. I think they really get Storm.
Absolutely gorgeous. I don't know if I have a lot of room to talk about this because I don't know basically everything. Reading about what the story this series will be about, I am fascinated because I wonder if this will start a trend of writers getting to write stories set into an older time period, as opposed to having to write a story for modern time where the characters currently are. Because this clearly is not taking place in anything Krakoan / Sins of Sinister era. This is, the summary talks about it with the X Mansion. So this is going to take place very, very far back.
Unless it does say it showcases her days of rocking her mohawk and leading the X-Men. So it does seem like it might be in the past, but I mean, that is Legends, and that was the Gambit series they just did, and that was the Patch series they just did, and they've been doing those all over the place. It's just, this is the first time we're taking it seriously because it's called Storm.
And I think we're ready to see a few more solo series. We just got Captain Britain and Rogue and Gambit. Let's call it a solo. They're basically fused now. But Storm would be high up on the priority list. And maybe a good thing is that if Ann Nocenti is writing a past continuity story, a woman of color could come on and write a present day Storm story that I think fans are really still clamoring for that, regardless of whatever other story in Storm's previous life we tell. Some gorgeous art for it, though, that Alan Davis. And, Demon Wars, we never get tired of Peach Momoko.
No, and I love seeing the Kevin Eastman cover in the bottom right. I love Kevin Eastman getting to do work at Marvel. It is a little bit, I don't get excited about Demon Wars issues in advance because it's hard to know what you're going to get. It's just going to kind of be the next part, and it's going to be exciting, but it's hard to know.
Yeah, I honestly didn't even read the description, and I'm not going to. I'm just going to buy it. I'm going to get it.
Exactly.
This has been the Momoko verse is must buy every time which is perfectly fine.
Oh, hard agree. Absolute hard agree. Honestly, it really does not matter what it is. If Peach is, on the art and Peach is writing it, I'm reading it. It's just, there's no question.
She's the toughest one as far as variants go, because that's the first one I want to gravitate to every time. If I know there's a Peach Momoko variant, that's like top of the list. But then it's like, if that's all I have, where's the diversity? So I try and add other writers or artists to the variant cover mix, but hers is just the one I want every time.
I am very excited to see what the Guri Hiru variant cover is. I am a fan of their art, so I am kind of I am looking forward to seeing what it looks like.
That Jen Bartel one, top right, is gorgeous too. Love Jen Bartel. And yeah, this is, I was putting a little bit of a pin in it till we got to the actual entry, but this is the Groot story. And it appears to be a young Groot past story, which makes sense that we have Marvel in the mix. I don't know, it just seems like it could be fun.
I mean, it also seems like a smart move coming out around the time of Guardians of the Galaxy, where they're publishing a teenage Groot.
Yeah.
So, really makes sense to try and capture that.
Oh, absolutely. I think this is probably the best example of the MCUification of, someone say, let's go and let's either redefine, redistribute, re-talk about Groot's beginnings, because it's not really discussed much in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, which is fine, that he's not the main focus of any of those movies, despite his, obscene popularity from those films. I do think this is probably the best case scenario and the best argument for, like, someone was like, okay, let's give Groot like a well-defined backstory or revisit it again.
I'll never get tired of it. And I just love the one thing I noticed this time when looking at it, but I didn't mention it when we were first talking about it, is Groot's like got little tears in his eyes. I don't know who made Groot cry or why, but I really need to, and so that will be a big selling factor for me. An Adam Warlock story. Okay.
I mean, they don't have a choice. They put him in the movie, so they've
Right.
got to do it. Like
Right.
it's financially irresponsible to put something in the films and then to not follow up on it in the comics. If you're not pushing, the synergistic, like, and I understand not every single Disney and Marvel movie needs to sell a Happy Meal, but they kind of do, because each one of these things takes 1 million people to make. So you got to pay 1 million people salaries, and like corporate interests are going to take $1 zillion. And, until we figure out how to fix that, they kind of have to do these. I do feel a little bit like Ron Mars and Ron Lim, but then you've got covers by Lucas Vernick and Phil Noto, who are very not Ron Mars or Ron Lim. And so it is interesting.
I don't know if this is particularly for me. Adam Warlock's not really a character I care about. I love his design. Adam Warlock has a great design, but I don't know if I care about the character, and I truly don't. So I don't know if this is going to really appeal to me.
And I agree. And more importantly, I don't know, looking at this, if this is going to be the book that makes me care about him. And I think that's where I'm a little bummed out. Guardians is a place that we don't venture into very often, and only because I was like, oh, we're going to do a previews episode and talk about it. I did have this minute of being like, oh, will we eventually have to get on board with Guardians? I still don't know.
I mean, I see it says Groot Fall is coming, and that the Groot mini that we just saw is not by anybody connected to what's going on in Guardians. That is called Groot Fall. I just, it does feel like exciting synergy, but I don't want to sound negative, but going through this previews is kind of bumming me out, because it is just like everything is so cross-pollinated. It feels like there's nothing I can buy where I don't have to buy 13 books.
And that's definitely a marketing thing of intertwining so many different things that you kind of feel obligated almost because FOMO, whether you're not going to understand information that they're talking about in the title, or you feel like you are going to be missing out if you don't get these books that are, they say they're connected and they're connected in one way or another, whether it's vitally connected or not. I kind of have to agree with you. I wish there were a little bit more like things that were standalone. Give me something where I can just buy this and only this, and I don't have to worry about 10 other things down the line.
And, you know, we're doing a Danny Ketch story by Howard Mackey. So that's a little interesting. We're continuing with Ghost Rider stuff.
It does seem to me a little bit like this is a Howard Mackey touchstone back to something classic. And it even says Danny Ketch is back. And there's this like big production about how this is some classic Spirit of Vengeance and like the 90s vibe, the look of it, the Mark Teixeira cover, which smacks of 90s art. There is something very, oh, look, if you just checked out those last few Ghost Rider books that were like, you know, the All-Rider versus the multiversal Doctor Doom, or Jason Aaron's very psychological American horror sort of Ghost Rider, there's still this. And the fact that this says 1 of 5 tells me that maybe they're trying to play with the number of Ghost Riders that they can have running at once.
Yep.
I will say that there is something maybe a little notable to the Ben Harvey cover, looking explicitly modern, that I think is notable. It's really hard to miss that main cover is so visually dynamic
and really representative of the Ghost Rider we're seeing in Ben Percy's, you know,
absolutely,
the art that we're seeing on the Ben Percy covers.
Very agreed.
Jonah, you've been getting into this with us, which has been fantastic. Do you have a lot of Danny Ketch history or interest?
No, I know nothing about this Ghost Rider.
You know, and there's like, I think that Ghost Rider is one of those things. It is kind of like Green Lanterns. As a Green Lantern guy, if you say to me, I'm a fan of Kyle, I'm a fan of Guy, I'm a fan of, you can pretty much be a fan of anybody but Hal, and I'll be like, I love your taste in Green Lanterns. If you're a fan of Hal, it's fine. But it's fine. But, you know, the big thing is, like, with Ghost Riders, it's sort of like flavor. You know what I mean? I think it's about how you want to express that vengeance. And the idea that we're going to juggle a bunch of Ghost Riders. We've got Danny in the mix. We've got Johnny in the mix. The only thing is perhaps this is Danny reset to Danny. And he had some interesting changes. And it's always interesting when they bring back a classic writer like a Howard Mackey, who is a man whose name was synonymous with 90s Ghost Rider for a very long time. And they bring him back to do something really dynamic, like retouch on this character. I'm excited for that. I just always want to see it played carefully.
And I think it's interesting because you know, this does seem like it'll be a past continuity story. And yeah, I mean, I do wonder if they're just continuing to set up the scaffolding for this eventual time of the spirits of vengeance and time of the riders that we keep saying we think is coming up.
And it is a lot of minis that say flashback to, flashback to, flashback to. You know, I'm glad you picked up on that for the Storm mini, Jonah. I'm glad you picked up on that for this mini, TK, because I am kind of noticing that there is a big focus on so much is going on in the present. Let's talk about some stuff in the past. The Storm mini series even said it's going to introduce a new villain into her past. And that kind of makes me feel perhaps like one of Marvel's big focuses on is generating new villains into the past that can get timey-wimeyed into the present.
Mm-hmm. We talked about this one a little bit on social media, but, you know, cool to do a Nick Fury story.
As a Nicholas Joseph with eye problems, I'm a big fan. So, you know, I couldn't be more excited than to see this. That said, it's Al Ewing writing multiple versions of Nick Fury. I love Al Ewing, and I love Al Ewing's version of the Marvel Universe and his vision for the Marvel Universe. I'm eager to know what sort of Nick Fury story we're getting. we have Old Man Nick Fury, we have, Incredible Ultimate Nick Fury, we have LMD Nick Fury, we have Howling Commandos Nick Fury. There's a lot of room to run this gamut. I need them to kind of commit to an idea of Nick Fury. There could be 5 guys running around with the same name. I'm not here to have an argument. But is this Ultimate Nick Fury, or is this Nicholas his son? Or is this, I need us to commit to an idea. This also doesn't have an of after it. And all of these minis have of. I wonder if
this is a one shot.
I was kind of hoping for an ongoing, but I'll settle for a one shot. But I do see a 1, so I'm hoping there could be a 2.
Or that it generates some interest, and maybe then we get something else. Any thoughts from you, JoJo?
I'm happy to see this, but I don't know if this is for me. Nick Fury's not really a character that appeals to me. But he is a character that I do want more from, and especially for the people who are fans of him. I'm happy for them, and I hope this is good for them.
That's very fair. This is another one we got a little bit of advance notice about on social media, and I think we are very interested in and excited about.
But are we, though?
Here's the thing. I am excited to see Echo not on fire.
I'm excited to see Echo not on fire. She does seem particularly un-Phoenixy. And it literally says in the preview, for months, the bloodthirsty and demonic Demo Goblin, which was a trading card I had from a card set in the 90s, so I have always remembered the Demo Goblin, has been kidnapping children for reasons unknown. He's a goblin. How many reasons does he need? He's kidnapping children. It's not like he's giving out gift baskets to the sick. It's not like you're worried and mystified by his change in personality. He's a goblin. So, in this series, Daredevil and Echo discover why, as Demogoblin works to waken ancient and powerful evil deep within the bowels of the city. Reunited at last with Echo, herself fresh from a brief time as the host of the Phoenix Force. Is 3 years really a brief time?
I mean, that was in universe like 2 weeks, I think.
All
but
right.
also not, because there have been 3 Hellfire Galas since then. Whatever.
But only 1 Hanukkah special. So, I'm excited, and this is a really cool thing because we have been so positive on Taboo and B. Earl. And
that was the other thing, yeah.
I'm ready to fucking fight anybody on this. Like, I understand that if you are like, man, I want to talk about critical understanding of modern music, and like you sit down and you're like Philip Glass doing The Hours, or you're like Ricky Ian Gordon's Only Heaven, or you're like most Peter Gabriel albums, but like you don't think Black Eyed Peas. And so that for me, Taboo of the Black Eyed Peas comic work, like his Ghost Rider and his Kushala, are some of the most inspired horror that Marvel has had in the last decade. And I love every artist they have paired him with. Every artist they have put with Taboo has been, and B. Earl, who he's collaborated with consistently, has been spectacular. Phil Noto's level of polish makes me feel Marvel is beginning to respect Taboo as someone who can sell a book. This is Daredevil and Echo, who are going to share a show, who are both having a great flippin' moment. And here's Taboo and B. Earl coming in, doing what could lead to some really exciting work on some X titles, or maybe an Echo ongoing, or maybe a super cool Spirits of Vengeance style book, or whatever. But Phil Noto makes it all seem a lot more possible.
So, when you said Demogoblin, the first thing that came to my mind is an AU where Demogoblin is combined with Dracula for Hemogoblin.
I've long said that would be my absolute favorite goblin, the Hemogoblin.
Yes.
And yeah, his power is he coagulates goodness.
So that's what was going through my brain. This is probably, out of everything we've shown, probably what I'd be most excited about to read.
Same.
I love me some Echo. So and seeing like the fact that she is still getting more stories after like the amazing things that we've had read in the past few years, I am excited to see her continue her comics.
And
This
a
is the
native writer writing her.
Yeah.
That's really exciting. My only slight eyebrow raise, and I can't do those, so I have to say it, is Daredevil lives on an island with his wife, and they're very busy, being the fist of the hand that stops the fist of the beast.
The fist of the hand that stops the beast of the fist. I'm sorry, you have
Thank
to remember it is as complicated as it can possibly be.
You nailed it.
It is at all times giving you the middle finger. That's all that you need to know about this fist.
I'm just, is he like, I gotta go for a bit, I'll be back? Sure, that's fine. But, just that was my first question. This is still going?
Okay, listen. So this is the first Amazing Spider-Man that I'm reading live in a really, 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 really long time. I mean, like since Brand New Day started, since the last time Zeb Wells was writing Spider-Man, this is the first time I'm reading Spider-Man live. I am happy for every one of Zeb Wells' successes. I think Zeb Wells and Heidi Gardner represent like such an unstoppable fucking flipping power couple in comedy. It's amazing. And I root for them so hard, knowing that Zeb Wells was recently, and there's no other way to put it, given the big Yahoo corporate belief synergy moment where in January they announced he is the guy doing the rewrites on the Marvels, that it's delayed until November. So like Zeb Wells is having a moment and I am so happy for him. His Amazing Spider-Man for me is not that moment. It is not my book. I have no problem with it being anybody's favorite, but I am geared for this to be a shorter run than a longer run. No, Jacob. No, Jacob. I don't believe we do, Jacob. I don't believe we do. And, that is to Jacob Kruger in
Jacob's question. Do we know what Peter did yet? What did Peter do is the first question that the series asks.
I'm waiting for Susan Meyer to look up as we slow pan down Colonial Street and just say to ourselves, "Oh, Peter Alice, what did you do?" And like I'm at my wit's end with Spider-Man being Sad Panda. My dream is for Spider-Man to be a happy panda. To be I really desperately need Spider Panda, and he's the sweetest little guy.
Oh, but that's happening. Don't worry.
I am, so thrilled to see John Romita Jr., an artist who has graced the pages of my favorite Spider-Man run of all time, JMS run. Hi. So J. Michael Straczynski, since I know you're watching this show right now, I just want you to know, anytime you want to be on this show, I am ready to uncomfortably fan worship you. Anytime you're ready, whether it's to talk about the 12, Thor, Amazing Spider-Man, or any of your other masterworks like Supreme Power. But anyway, John Romita Jr., son of a legend unto himself. Speaking of Daredevil, the Man Without Fear, comics that changed my life. This is worth buying, even if it's not your book. The quality of the creator in here is worth buying. And if you're a person who thinks about like resale value, this has a lot of potential for resale, even if I think it is perhaps not my run. But there is something really worth considering about Zeb Wells and John Romita Jr.'s tenure and the way it's going to affect fandom going forward. So I think this is a one to watch. Even if it's one that I'm not crazy about, I'm likely to buy the omnibus when it comes out because I believe it's going to have resale value. The loud mad money noise should be happening right now. I think I should break something. I don't know how that show works. I don't watch people that scream.
Now
we watch Nailed It all the time. What are you talking about?
She's special.
Any resonance for you with this title, Jonah?
So I've been listening to the coverage of it, and I don't know if it's like I agree with Nico. I don't know if it's my Spider-Man, but I know it's other people's Spider-Man, and so I'm happy for them. This cover, I half love. I love Mary Jane in the background, the way it's like faded, the way that her hair like becomes the background, that kind of style of art, and the way that Mary Jane looks, as Nathan would do, chef's kiss. I love, but I have a little bit of a problem with the way Spider-Man is drawn here. He looks bulky in a weird way. He looks action figure-y. I don't know what is going on with the way Spider-Man is drawn. Also, I'm not sure if the colors are working for me for this. So, from a cover standpoint, and that's part of how you draw people into something is the cover. If I've never read the title before and I look at this cover, regardless of the number, I want to be interested in it. I don't know if I'm fully would be buying it based off this cover.
It does have a little bit like that 19-year-old SARMs junkie at your gym look to it. I get what you mean.
Nico, though, it's funny when you were talking about just why this might not be your run, it really did get me thinking, because I'm sort of on the same boat, and I just wonder if after all the work that we did on MC2 and a kind of older Peter Parker, and then we started to really investigate what it means to be a spider person, if our sort of our hopes for the character have really shifted from what the mainstream hope for Peter Parker is. I don't know. Something to pay attention to.
It is something to pay attention to when a character has existed since 1963. Yeah. He has to represent a lot to a lot of people.
Exactly. And yeah, I mean, we're getting 2 this month, so there's more to find out, and there's going to be a screen with lots of people on it, I guess. These are 2 books that we knew were coming because, we knew what the lineup was and that they would be in the middle of it. We've had the first issue of Red Goblin, and Gold Goblin's in there, but, I'm still interested. Hallows Eve, we have not started yet, and I'm really excited. I liked the reminder that Elizabeth Tyne is still kicking.
You listen here. Spider-Man is absolutely,
yeah, Jacob, that exists.
It is one of me and Teek's absolute top choices of favorite Spider, and they did some weird stuff with her. Oh my god, the stuff they did with her Peter was so weird. What was that? And they've left us dangling on it for a year, whether her Peter is going to become a symbiote or not.
Maybe it'll happen in Extreme Venomverse.
It's exquisite. It's actually really exquisite, some of it. Spider-Man is by far one of the most rewarding characters in the Spider-Verse. Hallows Eve is so rewarding. We love her from over in MC2. I'm here for this page.
Jonah,
Absolutely. Completely agree. I've been very much enjoying the Gold Goblin run. Since reading, the event that Hallows Eve was just currently in, I've fascinated by her Majora's mask powers of just putting on a scary mask and being like, "Ooga, I'm this monster now. I have its powers." It's kind of funny.
The Ooga, I am the monster now is always
Frankenstein is just so darn funny.
I'm gonna push Maddie off this bridge. Oh no.
Now I've got the Staff of Ultimate Power.
Yeah, that was some serious Star Wars. I have the higher limbo.
Yep.
It was, that must have been the hot that to bring it back to, ridiculous 80s music. I started this whole thing with Danny Elfman, so I get to bring it over to Buster Poindexter. Yeah. Oh my.
My biggest reminder with this issue of Spider-Man 8 is that it's supposed to be a 12-issue run, and wow, we're on issue 8. We will be in the home stretch in May, and this is a run, like you said, Nico, about the Amazing Spider-Man run. I think this one is going to be very important for the future of Spider-Man. I think this might make a great part of a great collection. It's a little tough to read issue by issue. That's all I'll say.
It is.
And again, 2 things that we kind of knew were out there and we were continuing with. I'm very excited to cover Spider-Gwen Shadow Clones at some point. Looks like silly fun. Lethal Protector, we will see. That's just, we're doing a lot of Venom stuff.
Is that a female rhino that looks like a nightlife singer?
It's a Spider-Gwen. It's a Gwen-verse Rhino Gwen. Yeah, yes, and that is correct. That's the look.
Yeah.
And of course, we've got Al Ewing's Amazing Venom series, which is continuing. And like what's going on with Spider-Man, this is really going to be very important for how the character manifests going forward.
I'm genuinely Venomed out at this point. Like, I think, I can commit to a 22-page Venom book. I can commit to a 44-page Venom book. There have been 44 pages of Venom in this book, and it's a previews guide.
Yeah.
So that's a concern. I know that something we don't talk about enough is that Venom appeared in the most recent Spider-Man movie. Granted, for a second, but it was enough that they're building to something. I just think it's a little down my throat right now when Venom is something I prefer to come to.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. And then we're doing something called Cult of Carnage, which is featuring the symbiote Misery. Not my favorite of the tertiary symbiotes. I prefer Agony or Shriek. But kind of cool that they're doing it. Love that Sabir Pirzada is writing it. I don't know that I know Francesco Mortarino's art, but we're not even in the Summer of Symbiotes. I mean, I guess all this stuff could be setting up the Summer of Symbiotes, but this seems like a lot of symbiote stuff.
And we've done Cult of Carnage before, so this isn't new. This is getting to be a lot, and it appears that Liz Allen is this symbiote now. I'm really happy that Spider-Man is having a moment. I just wish it wasn't all we talked about this previews.
Yeah.
It is a lot. I agree. If you're gonna make me read it like an ancillary symbiote, it's not. I also would prefer Shriek, because that's one from Philly.
Yes.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It is a little too much. I don't know if Marvel's testing waters. I don't know if they're throwing stuff out there to see what sticks. But I don't know if really this is the best move. It's just way too much, especially before what you're leading up to be a huge event. And it's all, you're asking for a lot of symbiote stuff. It's a lot.
It's a big saturation point early. At last, X-Men stuff, and unfortunately, X-Men stuff we already kind of know about, but cool that it's coming, right?
Yeah, I'm really excited about Before the Fall. I'm really glad that we're getting what feels like some closure on a bunch of the stuff that started before Sins of Sinister. It is decidedly surprising that it's getting a one-shot instead of just another issue. In Legion of X, but maybe this is a chance to give people a new jumping on point, because maybe Legion of X wasn't banging sales, but it was getting good critical reviews.
And we got to know what happens with Mother Righteous.
Absolutely.
And it looks like it's going to pay off so much of the ongoing drama for artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like a storyline that we were promised was going to be a major event, and it looks like it's getting paid off in a one shot.
Which you are absolutely right. I mean, hopefully it won't get paid off. Hopefully it'll just take its next step. But my only thing with that is the artificial intelligence aspect was really like one of those big pillars of like, this is the entire reason the Krakoan era exists.
Yeah.
And if it is kind of thrown away in a one shot or dealt with in a one shot like that, it's going to kind of lead me to believe that like they have slowly just kind of buffed out the idea that it's a really important pillar, and that if it resolves, Krakoa can still exist, where it felt like originally when we got to that particular resolution, we would be at the end of the Krakoan era.
Yeah.
And of course, we know X-Men Red is continuing. We're all super stoked about that.
You know, I think it is like surprising that books aren't restarting. And then I started to think about it. Okay, here's a little bit of math. If books hit 10 and then we did this Sins of Sinister mini event, that's a whole bunch of new number ones. Then we're doing Before the Fall. That's another round of number ones. Then we're doing Fall of X, which is another round of number ones, which I just want to comment. Fall of X, Fall of the Mutants. We did 2 Infernos. There's a lot of really beautiful alliteration, sort of kind of with language going on. So maybe Fall of X is just a little bit different than we're expecting. Maybe everyone's going to find out what a piece of garbage Xavier is, and that's the Fall of X. Like, we don't already know. But I wonder if X-Men Red didn't restart here because it's restarting in October, and they didn't want to do a 6-issue run and restart again after Fall of X. It might be easier to kill everything off at 15 than reboot again and again. Either way, I would probably go to my shop and grab that Jubilee variant. That thing is bubblegum magic in every way that matters.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to this. I don't know. Everything is a little tricky right now. It feels because of everything that went down for Sins of Sinister, I feel like a lot of titles are caught in this weird mix of, well, they have to finish their story, but we're going to this big event that's kind of changing everything. So it feels a little lost in terms of when exactly everything's supposed to be happening.
It's the Judgment Day shuffle all over again.
Yeah, a year after the Judgment Day shuffle. So that's a rough trend. You know, numbering synergy and how it works with title ending and storyline ending. We really were at a fantastic place for Red, Immortal, and this to end and then restart after the event. And I'm shocked they didn't want to go that direction. I'm like really curious, were they getting the critique too much and wanting to beat it back that they cancel books too quickly? But I've gotten used to it at this point. So even though I was like, 10 is not the perfect synergy of 1 year, meaning 12 issues, I'm perfectly fine with Immortal ending at 10. And then it turns out that it's not, but now we don't know what's happening. But we do know Immortal's coming back as well.
And I love this like moment for Storm. It's really
Yeah.
great that she's got so many covers
May
and a
is a big Storm
miniseries.
month.
Again, it really sucks that absolutely none of these Storm covers are written inside by a woman of color or a person of color, but you know, it's a step, and we will hopefully see this corrected in 2024, if not later in 2023. I just know the amount of time it takes the engine to burn the steam to make the changes. So you know, the big thing here is Storm of Two Worlds. This is the fallout of Sins of Sinister. I'm all about it. I'm curious how long we're going to deal with the fallout of Sins of Sinister, seeing as the fallout of Judgment Day was the start of Sins of Sinister. Is the fallout of Sins of Sinister just the start of Fall of X?
I mean, yeah, I think so, but that is really, you know, part of the fun thing about a previews issue as well is you start to really think about what your state of mind is going to be at the time that these books are coming out. And, you know, this really is getting me to think about, like, where am I going to be at in May when this stuff starts releasing? How am I going to feel about how Sins of Sinister ended, because it will have just ended? And what am I going to be looking for from these books? And how will that be different than what I'm looking for now from these books? And this is continuing.
Oh no, that this has something that I did see something about. I hope everybody read that Wolverine solicit well, because this is where Jean Lin Yang is continuing Sister Dagger's story alongside Wolverine in a Wolverine backup tale.
And that I am of course really excited about. Yes. And I don't have anything bad to say about this. I'm shocked that somebody has gotten a run that is this long on 2 books. I'm very happy for Ben Percy. He works very hard and writes his heart out. these are not always the story that I want, and they have been at times like challenging, not even in a bad way, but they have been really challenging. And at this point, they've been challenging for a little while. So, I'm always looking at these, looking for a little bit of a reprieve.
I'm at least happy that it looks like X-Force says it's starting a new era. Not like I'm done with X-Force. But okay, then start the new era, because it just keeps feeling like they're going to say we're going to start it soon.
Jonah, what you think?
I am fascinated by this being number 40. That I think it's the longest running title. I'm really interested to see what this title is going to mean and represent once the fall of once the Sins of Sinister ends and we're recovering from that. I am interested to know what the mutant CIA has to say about all of this.
It will be interesting. It will be weird if it's not really a huge focus for them, which it kind of seems like it's not going to be. And of course, X-Men, back for another issue. We're going to hit 24, do another Hellfire Gala, and who knows, are we going to get 36 issues of this, or will this finally get its restart? We still don't know, but, we're looking at what is Orcus. We've seen versions of this cover before where it's, whatever the team is that is really against the X-Men, and I always think it's really cool. I love that depiction of MODOK.
I do too. Seems like we've lost the amazing JoJo for a second, but when he comes back, I would love to get his take on this version of Karima and MODOK on this page. There's something really exciting about the visual of what they're going for with X-Men. It seems like they want this to be the rougher book, the tough time book. But I think one of the things that is really going to shine through with this is no matter what, it's still kind of the safe team. It's still kind of the gentle book. So even if you dress up all of the bad guys on the cover, it's still not going to be the rough and tumble book.
Yeah, I mean, I think what it ever winds up seeming rough and tumble because it sometimes is willing to go to plot extremes. That like Percy's run will go into like detail extremes of violence, but this X-Men run at times goes into sort of unhinged territory for everybody. And, we've still got Dr. Stasis in the mix after Sins of Sinister here. So there's, and we've got Nimrod after, or, parallel to Sons of X. So, there's still so much, and everybody's pink. Everybody's pink. I love
there's
it.
a lot of tonal energy here with the pink and the purple, sort of like a beige effect.
Do you think when Dr. Stasis looks like Nimrod, he gets triggered because of the diamond?
Who do you think said to whom, "Bitch stole my look"? Karima Sharapandar to Fei Long, or vice versa?
I think it was some corporate synergy.
Orcus? Man, Orcus is playing the long game as far as corporations go, and that's actually the part of Orcus that I'm most excited about going forward as a villain. Them as a corporation, I think, is great. And, Bishop War College and Betsy Bride of Captain Britain, 2 books that came out this month that are going to continue. That cover very much worries me for Bishop War College, but I trust Tempest. I know she's going to be okay.
I also feel like one of the things that this Bishop War College book is doing that's really important is it's having a really intense relationship with the other books going on. The other books are like X-Men, Betsy Braddock, Captain Britain. This is War College. There's something so aggressive and very severe about these covers that I think is meant to sell us on the fact that this is war. So seeing Tempo in this sort of predicament, I think one of my big excitements is at least this says that she's in a position to move forward. I don't really think anybody's going to die anytime soon on Krakoa before Fall of X. I think anyone who's going to die is going to die there. But I really want to see where they can take this book and how they can make these characters have the weight they've always deserved. They always get pulled back on, and now is the time to run the line.
And, you know, I think I feel similarly about Betsy Braddock, Captain Britain. It's a lot, I mean, in a very different way, it's a lot of stuff that has kind of needed expanding on. You know, Otherworld in general has really needed to be reintegrated into main continuity in a more solid way. Betsy and Rachel being together is just such a beautiful thing. Betsy is Captain Britain. It's all really cool. I'm excited to kind of let this book do what it needs to do to set up the long-term implications of what it's doing.
I maybe only wish Rachel had a spot on the cover, like that it was maybe Betsy Braddock and Rachel. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because if it's Rogue and Gambit, and this really does seem to be focusing on them being like a couple, I'm distraught that it does seem like we are running the gambit of artists. I would maybe like the book to have a cohesive look, and between Excalibur toward the end after Marcus Toe left, and, you know, the look of Knights of X into this, it does feel like there isn't enough consistency, but I do love Erica D'Urso, and so I am excited for this cover.
Jonah, of the two, which are you more excited about? Captain Britain or Bishop War College?
Captain Britain, Betsy Braddock, Captain Britain. It's just a title that interested me more. I like the characters of, I like Betsy more than my love for Betsy is higher than my love for Bishop. So that is where my allegiance lies. And I don't know, after reading what I have read from War College, I don't know if I'm fully on board yet, but maybe by the time this issue comes out, I will be on board a little bit more. It hasn't really spoken to me just yet, but maybe with a little bit more detail, a little bit more understanding of where the story is going, I might be able to enjoy it more. But as of right now, Captain Britain has my attention.
Yeah, I feel pretty similarly. Bishop War College is one that I'm excited to read all 5 issues at once and appreciate the implications. There's just more room for titillation in Captain Britain, which is like a silly way to put it, but like that kiss still I think about all the time. So just getting to see them have moments is a little special to me. And Bishop is a much harder edge book. It's a really important book, but I sort of fall to that line. And these 2 minis that I think both of these, I feel like I will probably read them single issue, but I think looking at them, I would probably prefer to read them as trades.
Yeah, you know, I don't love anything going back to calling her X-23.
Yeah.
It's not my thing. I'm really glad to see a woman writing X-23. That's the right way to do it. The return of Kimura. All right, fine. I think sometimes we forget that, like, oh, that's the classic villain. And like we apply, oh, that's the classic villain. Everyone remembers them to stuff. And like, sure, then let's talk about how Sabretooth was originally an Iron Fist villain. Right. Let's talk about how Wolverine originally fought the Hulk. You know, like let's pair off these people in weird ways. Kimura isn't somebody that I crave fighting X-23. But, you know, seeing in this solicit for New Mutants Lethal Legion that it's not just the newer characters, that I'm still seeing the name Danny, Karma. Those are names that I want to see. And I'm pretty excited to see these 2 books. You know, it's nice to see so many female awesome mutant characters in what look like action roles and not just like background roles while Sam and, you know, Beto have all of the story. Also, I demand Sam and Beto books, but like, I demand these books too.
There really should just be, the book should just be called Sam and Beto.
Oh yeah.
I think I'm also interested to see how Count Nefaria functions as a villain for the New Mutants. This will either be sort of a disaster or like one of those things where you're like, I had no idea how cool this could be.
Yeah, I don't think it can be great. I just don't think Count Nefaria can be great, but I have no problem with it. He is sort of like a person you cycle in from time to time.
Right.
So I've never heard of him, but
You've read him.
he looks like Doctor Strange, but Doctor Strange was a cheesy villain.
He's the guy that killed Thunderbird.
Oh. Oh. Wow. Well,
Yeah.
no. In terms of Laura, so I was actually introduced to Laura as X-23 way back when I was very into Marvel vs. Capcom, where she is playable in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And I thought, wow, she's really cool. She has like a lot of fun combos you can do. But now, I really only like her as Wolverine. She's Wolverine. Her dad gave her the name. Let her be Wolverine. Not to say that we can't go back to this, during that time, but I don't know if it's a time period that, even with the most skilled writer, I don't know if I'm always going to be on board with it, but I am going to give it a shot.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I feel too. And I have thoughts about why they're using X-23, but this is one that I'm also glad that it's written by a woman. That's really one of the things that I'm really excited about. I'm very excited that New Mutants Lethal Legion is written by a trans person, especially coming off of Vita Ayala's run. This is, I think, really important for this book. I maybe only wish that it was continuing as an ongoing. And now I just want to know what's happening after Lethal Legion number 5. And Rogue and Gambit, of course, continuing. Very excited to see where that goes. It's been interesting so far. And, we knew the Excellent was coming back. I'm excited about that too. It's a really different time that the Excellent is in now. And I don't know that it all works for me, but I'm still fascinated.
It's like The Excellent, like I started this by talking about New X-Men. The Excellent is one of my all-time favorite books in the form of, Ecstatics and, later X-Force, but, later era X-Force into Ecstatics. It definitely does not age quite the same way it existed once upon a time.
Yeah.
And Rogue and Gambit, I feel like both of these books kind of feel maybe a little bit like remnants of bygone eras that I enjoy, but eras that are unfortunately harder to get fans to dial back into so readily.
I agree, Nico. I think I hate to use the term nostalgia bait, but I feel like that's what these titles are. And there's nothing wrong with that, and these aren't even bad titles, and I'm on board with it. Give me that bait. I'm a fish on that hook. But it's one of those things where, like, I agree. I don't know. These aren't fresh, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think part of it is that we are in an era of comics that the big onus is on how you're going to continue to engage fans in meaningful ways. And it's really hard to convince somebody the second follow-up mini that's the follow-up to the one-shot, right? So the Excellent is the follow-up to the Excellent, which is the follow-up to Giant Size Ecstatics, which is the follow-up to Dead Girl 1 through 5 Back from the Dead, which is the follow-up to Ecstatics, which is the follow-up to X-Force. At some point, you're putting people on such a journey that I know we can do it because we do it with New Mutants, we do it with Excalibur. I know people are willing to take this journey, but it's really difficult when the characters on the cover are Mr. Sensitive and Zeitgeist. That's not going to be the draw. It's not the same thing as Rogue and Gambit. And even though I think Rogue and Gambit are, like I even said by my own definition, maybe a little bit past where they need a shared solo like this, it's definitely an easier sell than the Excellent.
But I wonder if the Excellent isn't just relying on its own nostalgia, and they're kind of aware that that's going to be most of what the audience is. If they do just these limited runs, they might pick up more people, and that might draw excitement to the old stuff, but this kind of is a known quantity audience, and what that audience does want to see, or maybe they don't, I don't know, but is these two characters in particular. And of course, we know Doctor Strange is coming back in his Doctor Strange title, where we just ended Strange. We're starting up with this.
Very
cool, but I don't know.
It just feels like more. Like, I don't feel like this is a new book. This doesn't feel like a preview for some issue I haven't read yet. This just feels like more.
Yeah. Two ancillary Avengers titles that Avengers Beyond is real tough to interact with.
Yeah, that Avengers Beyond is the continuation of All Out Avengers, Avengers War Across Time. I'm not against either of these books being on paper. It just feels a little bit like both of these books are just there because there's always going to be the ability to make money on an Avengers miniseries. And there is. But then give these creators a chance to do something instead of what feels like more of the same.
Yeah, I completely agree. War Across, I especially don't have problem with like Alan Davis doing a past continuity story. That's completely fine. All Out Avengers and Avengers Beyond have their own problems. The artist is doing some of his best work, but still this artist, it's still really hard for me to get over their problematic history. And, the writing on the first three All Out Avengers just was not there for me in such a way that I was excited to hear that, like, don't worry, that was just a mini and we're launching it again with a new title.
Yeah, it's, I just have no connection to these. I feel bad because I don't have more to say. I just have no connection to these Avengers minis.
Yeah. Anything for you, Jonah?
Unfortunately, no.
Yeah. Scarlet Witch, another one. We knew this was coming because we knew that this series was, not limited and going to go on for at least 6 issues, I think. But I'm super excited.
Yeah, I just wish I understood anything about the metrics behind what's an ongoing and what's a mini.
Me too. And that, that is always a big takeaway from a previews issue is, being surprised to discover that something is or is not, and then trying to think about why. This is a run, Nico, that we're going to have to sit down and we're going to have to do these two and read them all the way through eventually. And I'm interested if this is stopping at issue 12 and if, I forget what the name of the other one is, but if that one is also stopping at issue 12.
Yeah, I'm really confused that there's Captain America, Sentinel of Liberty, and Captain America, Symbol of Truth, and they are both running this mini series. I keep getting confused a little bit and being like, wait, is it just like, does the name of the book change every issue or something?
No, I mean, they are in some way separate, but they're really intertwined, and they're obviously doing a whole thing, and also clearly not ending at issue 12. But this is one that I have entirely been like, I'm saving. I know it exists. I track it. There's some X-Men appearances that I have those issues specifically for the show. But it just seems like they're doing something that I can already tell I don't want to read issue to issue.
I get that.
Jonah? Same thing.
I believe you are on mute, Jojo.
Thank you for catching that. I can give you a very outside perspective. Seeing these two issues that seem like they're following the same numbering but are different titles, that is very confusing as a consumer.
Yeah.
If I saw these two, at a comic shop, I would think these are two separate runs.
They are.
They're separate, but they are and we're getting to a point, Cold War, they're now intertwined.
It makes my head hurt.
Yeah. Hellcat, this is one that's kind of been in the back of my head. I'm very excited to see. We love Patsy.
I just have a little bit of trouble following who Patsy is right now, or who Hellcat is. I feel like she's a character that they keep trying to redefine as they are going. I could use a little bit more concrete. And don't get me wrong, I love Christopher Cantwell, and I love like so much of the stuff he's doing. Maybe there's a character that could have benefited from a woman writing.
Yeah. Yeah, Christopher Cantwell has written some really great, like, kind of random books, off-center characters, Namor in the Future, and I've liked all of them. You are right. We are really reaching a point where we shouldn't have to be saying this should have been a woman writer, or maybe it needed a woman writer. Like, we should be at a point where the surprise is, oh, they put a male writer on this character after all this time, where appropriately a woman has been writing it. And the fact that that's still a critique being lobbied at stuff is unfortunate.
Yeah.
I feel like Patsy as a character, like Nico said, is a character similar to how for a little while before the Krakoan era, Kitty Pryde was kind of constantly being redefined and reinvented over and over again. And in a way, it becomes almost annoying because, well, how many times do you just keep redefining this character? What are we defining as the actual backstory? What are we defining as the actual characteristic if everybody just keeps trying to redefine them? And it would be nice that this character that's been in comics for years and is a very old character kind of deserves like a, pour the cement, give her some concrete.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I doubt it's going to be this series that does it, but hopefully her time is coming. She deserves it. Invincible Iron Man has been a great series. I'm not surprised it's continuing. I don't personally have a ton to say about it. I don't think this is going to be defining for the character, but I do notice the Legacy 656 in the top. I wonder if they are really shooting to take this to a big number and do something with it.
Well, the issue is also a flashback to versus the West Coast Avengers and an untold, forgotten story. So I wonder how much of it is meant to be a visual kick to when this is meant to be from.
Yeah, very true. This Fantastic Four run, we just discussed this in our last episode, which you haven't seen, please go watch. I'm still excited, and this is legacy number 700.
And I probably am not as excited. I did not love some of the nature of 1 through 4 storytelling. I think I haven't really gotten to a real moment yet. And I feel kind of like if this 700 is what should have been 1, and like I'd thought maybe 1 through 4 should have, or 1 through 6 ultimately, should have been a mini series leading up to it, that would be one thing. But this really feels like if 700 is going to be the moment, then why did I just do the last 6? This numbering game is getting so weird. We have a numbering system. It's called the calendar. And the fact that we need to keep complicating it by, like, at least we're out of the era of 10.1, 10 point now, 10 point all new. Like, I'm just so glad we're out of that era because, like,
Spider-Man
sometimes
88 point BEY.
348 days over 2.
Yeah, you really do hit a certain point where you're like, maybe I'm my own nobody. I'm Coxon.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what this 700 means. Great Alex Ross cover with it.
Jojo, are you reading this Fantastic Four?
No.
We'll let you know if you end up needing to.
Agreed.
I Am Iron Man, which does look very cool, and I'm excited to see where it goes. Clobbering Time. Okay.
Yeah, both of these miniseries are more of that let's dial into the past kind of vibe.
Yeah.
I'm excited for I Am Iron Man because anything that celebrates the multitudinal value of who Iron Men are, not just Tony Stark, I'm in.
Right. Yep.
Clobbering Time, I'm not coming for anybody, but I am not the world's biggest Steve Scrooge fan from back when he was doing X-Man.
Yeah.
Just not my favorite artist. Didn't love his Wolverine either. Seeing this, it looks like he's really grown as an artist in the ways that I wasn't like super into. I love the Dan Panasian cover, super cool. But I'm not going to buy a Ben Grimm book. And I'm definitely
Exactly.
not going to buy one called Clobberin' Time where they're like, he goes to the Jersey Shore. I live at the Jersey Shore. This is
I'll
what we
just
look and
go
sound
myself.
like. Yeah, I'll just walk down there myself. If I want to see a giant, roided out, stony looking guy, I can just go down to Asbury anytime.
This Moon Knight run is never going to end, and good for it.
I thought it was ending, but I guess it's not. And
I mean, maybe it's 24, but I doubt it given that, they're just throwing in Moon Knight and Venom fighting side by side.
And there's so many Venoms, and here's another. It's another Venom, man.
Yeah.
This is way too much, dude. I need poison control. I'm sick of this.
This Venom that just looks like Batman.
I would say we need anti-Venom, but that's another symbiote.
That's actually the symbiote I would rather have.
Exactly. Cosmic Ghost Rider. This
No,
was
no.
another.
But wait, Cosmic Ghost Rider and my wife.
Yeah.
That's my wife with Undrawn right there.
Yep.
That's my wife. And it's a woman writing Cosmic Ghost Rider. Don't get me wrong. We need a woman writing all of these stories from women's perspectives that have never had the opportunity to have a woman writing them. But if somebody has never had the opportunity to really be softened, it's some form of Cosmic Ghost Rider. Yeah, I'm in.
Well, and if we're not always getting the women should be writing other women's stories that we want, I love a moment where you would think like, oh yeah, give me a man's man to write Ghost Rider. And no, it's a woman writing it, and it's going to be awesome.
And it's Cosmic Ghost Rider, who's Frank Castle, basically raised by Thanos to be the Herald of Death as Cosmic Ghost Rider. That's so much good.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this series. This is just another issue in the middle of it, but I can't wait. Jonah, is this one that you'll read given our Ghost Rider stuff?
Oh, between the Ghost Rider stuff and the Valkyrie stuff, absolutely, I'll be reading this.
I'm excited. And of course, Ghost Rider.
I wish this would have been by the other Ghost Rider miniseries, so I didn't think that Ghost Rider was canceled. I really don't like how this book is organized.
Yeah, but this is issue 14, so this is going the distance. I really wish we had numbers with
Plus a backup
now.
story featuring Taguchi.
Yeah. Yep. I really wish we had better numbers. We'll never get digital, and that really bums me out because this is a title that I can so see selling well digitally. And, to me, this is one of Percy's masterpieces as a writer. I give him a really hard time on X-Force, even though I do think he is great and really working hard. But this is like a no-notes book for me. I mean, I really think it is fantastic. And it has, oh God, Nico brought me into Ghost Rider so cynical and just thinking there was nothing redeeming about the character. And I am so all in.
Same.
She-Hulk, Joe Fixit, sure. I am choosing not to read She-Hulk due to having some problems with the author, but it's a defining run for Jen, so I hope it leads to good stuff for her, especially in light of the She-Hulk TV show. Joe Fixit is a Hulk too far for me. I simply can't go there, but more power to anybody who's loving it.
Yeah, same for me. I can't read the Rainbow Rowell She-Hulk book, and Joe Fixit just isn't a book that I don't really care as much for.
Did you read She-Hulk at all, Jojo?
So I read the first few issues of this run, and after everything that went down, I am a little bit bummed about it not only keep going, but it's like I don't know if I can really support it, and it sucks because I really, really love Jen. Joe Fixit. Joe Fixit is a character I was introduced to the Marvel mobile game Contest of Champions, and Nico had to explain to me who Joe Fixit was, and I can confidently say Joe Fixit is not a character for me.
Yeah, I don't know who Joe Fixit is for, and he's there. Yeah, we're still doing Hulk stories. This is a Hulk annual. I'm nowhere near Hulk stuff, so I just can't speak to it.
And this is specifically because they are trying to buy time till they can relaunch the book after the not great reception of the last run. So,
Right. Yep.
not a whole lot to say about this one.
Yep. Bloodline is coming close to an end in May. This had a great first issue. I'm excited to see where it goes. Silver Surfer Ghostlight. I actually bought the first issue and have not sat down and read it yet, but Silver Surfer is just a character I love, so I'm hoping that this ends up being something promising that can do something for Silver Surfer in the future.
Yeah, I didn't realize Bloodline was a mini, but happy to
Are
see
you
that.
shocked?
No, but I'm happy to see it's getting 5 issues. Silver Surfer Ghostlight, I'll read it at some point, but it's a hard sell until I know if it matters.
Yeah. Captain Marvel, this has to be one of the, if not the longest ongoings at Marvel lately.
Yeah, I mean, 50 issues, that's crazy.
Yep. And this batch of them has been very X adjacent, so I started picking it up right around now, and this whole Brood storyline, I think eventually we will cover the whole thing, and it actually goes into its own offshoot story. So
Who is that behind Hazmat?
Psylocke, I believe.
Interesting. Okay.
I could be wrong about that, but I believe. So yeah, this is Brood, X-Men, Captain Marvel. Seems like a perfect way to get somebody like me who doesn't typically care about Carol on board. So I have not technically gotten there yet, but I have been picking up the issues. So there you go. And of course, it's 12 issues of Frank.
Yeah, I do think he should be defeated here, so that's what I'm hoping for.
We'll see. That Red Punisher.
48 pages or 40 pages. That's
a sign. Yeah, I don't know. This could be it. It would be fascinating to me if this ended at 12 and Ghost Rider went past 14. I would love it, but and not because this should end, but because this has been a really solid 12 issues, and I would love to see it do what it's going to do next. And the Thor run, this is one that I'm just still not really reading that closely. And I know I need to, but I hear great things. I've read a few great things from it.
I'm just shocked that Donny Cates just jumped off of everything Marvel all at once, and Torrin Grunbuck just took over the book.
Yeah, that's actually the thing that's gotten me most excited to go back and read the whole thing so that I can pick up what seems to be like Torrin Grunbuck just running with it. I'm not sure if we're getting close to the end of the book or the end of her kind of, I don't even know if it's fill-in time or how planned this was, but, and this is not something that either of you has been reading either, though you do a lot of Thor stuff.
Yeah, I'll get to it as soon as I do, but I didn't love the Donny Cates stuff, so when this took over out of nowhere, it just wasn't on my radar.
Yeah. Same for you, Jonah?
Yes, but I have really enjoyed Torrin's work before and the different things that she has written that we've covered and read. So I could be on board whether they're finishing it out or if they're just picking up and just going from there. I could be on board for it. I'm not opposed to it.
I did not realize Deadpool was going to get this long a run, and somehow I missed that. I had known 5 was coming out, but I missed 6. And I was just, leapt out of my seat for joy that I'm seeing an issue 7 here.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that it would truly be 6 issues, like a mini, but it's just still going.
I can't wait. It's been fantastic. Everybody listening knows how much we love Alyssa Wong, so. And of course, our boy, Maddie, can't stop, won't stop.
I am pretty frustrated that it literally says they enter the crescendo of their run, which means like they're entering the ending. That's not what I thought was the case at Devil's Reign, but it's where we are. So, if this is the beginning of the end of Daredevil, I am shocked and maybe a little disheartened, but I recognize why any great run that lasts at this point like 5 years just has to end at some point.
And I'll be interested if it's crescendo 1 issue and the next issue, or if this is 2 issues of crescendo, 3 issues of end, an issue or 2 of epilogue, so it actually ends up going on a little while longer.
That'd be exciting.
Yeah.
Gives you a little bit of time to catch up, JoJo.
I can do it.
And that is the totality of what, well, probably not the totality there. I'm sure there'll be a few surprises in there, but that's a lot of what will be coming out in May.
I mean, I've had a lot of fun looking at all of these books. It has been really sort of illuminating to see how little focus they can keep on multiple properties at once. It is just the Venom show. There's some X-Men, there's some Ghost Rider, but it's Venom and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And no Elsa Bloodstone.
And no Elsa Bloodstone.
The injustices continue. Yeah, I have to say this has been so fascinating talking this out with you guys, because I just think I don't mind that we got a little negative with it, because it actually made me think a little more critically than when I was just reading this on my own and thinking like, oh, that's coming out and that's coming out. There may be some problems with the schedule, and that's okay. Not every era has to be perfect. Not every month has to nail it. But
right.
I think it's important that, we notice and pick up on these things. And you are right. There is maybe a little too much Venom. And I really got to think about that, what that means for how I gear up for my summer of symbiotes.
I think one thing to keep in note is you look at like each page individually, and I think there are certain things you can get excited for and think, oh great, I can't wait to read that. Oh, that's still going. That gives me a chance to I can catch up now and I'll be ready by May. But then you read everything together and you're like, oh, there's a lot of similarities going on. There's a lot of Venom and some X-Men, and there was one Thor, and there's a couple of Iron Man, and then there's a couple of different Ghost Rider stuff, and they're a little bit very selective of what they want to promote and what's going to be coming out. It didn't look like, from what I saw, anything is starting.
Just Avengers, kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
And that's even
Avengers,
shocking. One book of Avengers in the month that Avengers starts. 5 issues of Spider-Man 2099 the month Avengers starts. But 1 issue of Avengers.
Interesting strategy.
Well, I cannot wait to cover all of this amazing material with you guys. And every time we hit one of these books in our episodes, I'm going to be like, and don't forget to check out our previews episode. But until we, oh, wow. And we got a little bump in from Kevo, producer extraordinaire, who, by the way, has been behind the scenes pressing all the buttons. Thank you for everything, as always, Kevo. Just pop in and give us a wave. Okay.
Hello.
Well, thank you all so much from the X-Pack here. Everybody give us a sign off so we know where we can find you. And don't forget to tune in to our amazing review of the last several days, or several weeks, I guess, of titles on Sunday in our regular time slot, Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard. But until then, remember to like, subscribe, check out our amazing back catalog. Jonah, TK, where can everybody find you online?
You can find me at xnatexgrayx, and of course I will be here on Sunday to talk all things Magic and Marvels.
And you can follow me over on Twitter and Instagram at PeakJonah.
I am Nico, whose camera slid at some point and just totally gave up that backdrop. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at NicoAction. That's NicoAction. And until next time, keep those mutant lights lit, those Krakoan gateways open. Remember, you can check us out at X's for Show everywhere. Like, subscribe, and we will see you Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard.